All right. First things first. You guys can see my screen and make sure my audio is coming in loud and clear. So on my side, it looks like it's firing on all cylinders. Can somebody out there let me know that the audio is coming through good, loud and clear before I start diving into what's up? How are you doing? Can you hear me okay? Because I know the last stream that I did, but it's been a while, my audio seemed to be pretty low, and I don't know why, but this one looks like it's spiking fine. So if you guys can let me know, give me a thumbs up, and then I'll get going on what I want to work on today. All good. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate that. Okay, as always, feel free to ask any questions that you might have as we go along here. I got this guy in the iPad version I've been kind of playing with. I thought, you know what, let's play with him today in the stream. Okay, so this is kind of the thought process for me when I start working on some Mac kind of ideas with inside of ZBrush. So I'm going to work on the arm today and just start blocking that out. You can see I started playing around with blocking out kind of what do I want to do in the torso. This is kind of just a process for me. I went a little way more deeper into the rabbit hole on the head just because I was trying to make something for when we were working on ZModeler on the iPad. I was just trying to get something halfway decent. But realistically, what I tend to do is go through the whole model and try to figure the whole character out and see the whole character so I can make changes and proportion changes and other proportions and things that I'd want to do, look at every angle. So today I'm gonna start working on the arm. I kind of made this this shoulder here, but I don't know if it's gonna work for this guy or not. So let's start working with this. So I usually, as an example, I got this male head or this male body here, right? So this is what I have. So it's kind of in a T pose, of course. So I'm going to duplicate this. So let's go ahead and duplicate that. And we will move this further on down the line. Let's move it there. Okay, and I'm going to folder this up. And we're going to call this arm. So then we got a folder here. And I only need one arm, right? So here, we'll cut off the arm now. So let's solo this out and start really looking at, here, we'll put on polyframe. Okay, it's a Dynamesh. So I just need to cut the arm off. We'll keep everything attached. So we'll do this in chunks. Let's use some knifing curve for this. So let's just pull this back. We don't need polyframe on. Just going to get rid of some of that. We don't need the rest of the torso. It's still got Dynamesh, so we can re-Dynamesh that if we want. And let's just go ahead and start. Let's look at this in another way. Let's take some masking this time. And I'll stick with the knife. Let's just stick with the knife. Whoops. Just give it some taps in there. Okay. We got something here. Let's now re-Dynamesh this. And I'm going to turn on Sculptris Pro as well this time so that I can really just smooth this back where I don't want it. Just something like this. Get rid of these portions, these little parts that I don't really need. I really just want to focus from shoulder down right now. So we'll take a look at that. I will constantly be looking at the chat. So please do continue to fire away any questions or things that you might have for me. I'm going to say that's good enough. That looks good. We'll re-Dynamesh that. Okay, we're not going to need Sculptris Pro now. Let's go ahead and open this up. Let's do solo. And now let's do another view. Okay. So I'm going to go to view 2. Let's turn on this arm. And let's turn everything else off except that shoulder piece, I guess. Let's take a look at what we got here. All right. Let's turn this off. Nice. We don't need this anymore. We'll take that off, turn that off, turn that off. Now you get to see all the underlining garbage that's there. And turn on the shoulder piece. So we'll turn these on. So we can kind of take a look at, do we want to continue to build off of the shoulder piece that I'm using, right? So I'm going to switch to Gizmo here. And let's move this over. I don't need symmetry right now. I'll rotate this down so it fits a little bit more to at least what I originally had designed there. I don't know it's going to work, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see what we're gonna do. All right, so we got a general. We'll throw in some transparency. Let's take a look through here. All right. Let's go ahead and now turn this off, and I'm just going to smooth this down a little bit because I want this to have a little bit more of a rounded shape. So I'm going for like a mech samurai guy, so I kind of want it to be very like more of a smooth surface, something that goes, and we'll see, because again, I'm kind of in the more beginning stages of this where it's discovery time for me. And I'm just figuring out what I want to make work here and put things together, right? So I'm trying to figure out what direction I want to go with this and what I might want to do with this. So like, do I want to do something like that? Let's go with that. And we can turn off our transparency now. Let's flip this and sit it right there so it kind of works more like this. More and more I look at this, I might go away from that one shoulder that I already have, actually. I think I might stick more human-like oid. No, I can't. Maybe you can help. Hey, okay, Dante, let me see. I have a low poly. It's respective normal map. I need to convert that normal map to geometry high poly to be able to print it. Can it be done with ZBrush? So you have a normal map is what you're saying? So no, you're not going to, we don't have conversions of normal map to like a displacement map. That's all you would need to do. And then you can apply it on the model and then 3D print it. So you can use, there's some free programs out there that you could use. XNormal would be one that can convert a normal map to displacement. There's also one called Hand Plane that you could use as well. And then you can apply the displacement inside of ZBrush. That would be possible to do. Let me write them both in there. So XNormal would be one, and then Hand Plane. Oops. And hold on, my iPad is in the way. Hand Plane is another. So you can try those, and then that you just convert the map, and then yeah, you can 100% apply it. Because I'm assuming then it's obviously based upon UVs. Right? Because you need the sculpted, you need it to become sculpted detail in essence, right? So it is possible to do. So here, let me give you a general displacement thing here, but hold on, I gotta launch the desktop. You can't do this. Oh wait, no, we did add it in here on the iPad. So as an example here, if we'll take this, let's go into our tools. We'll take our plane. We'll make that a poly mesh. Okay, so this has already got UVs on it. Okay, so in the tool palette, you're going to have displacement map here, right? So we will apply, we need to apply some here. Let's just apply the star. And then we need a texture map. Let's just say, okay, that's good right now. All right, so you've got this star. So if we divide this up a little bit here, so let's divide this up. We're at 16,000. Let's go up. Let's go to 1,000,000. Okay, and then now here, and then here, we'll rip this off for now. And then into displacement, you want to say the mode you want, and then there's an intensity slider here, and you can see now it's giving me the star. So this is what you could use, right? So then if you convert your normal to a displacement map, then you can just put that now in here. And then you want to turn on mode, because if you have mode off, it's going to act more like a bump map. If you turn mode on, then it's acting like a displacement map. And then put your intensity you want, and then you just say apply displacement, and now this is applied to the mesh. So even if we turn this off, right, and now if we turn off our texture map as well, okay, you can see that that's now part of the plane. So that's what you would have to do. Cool. Does that help? Hopefully I understand. Okay. So obviously this would not work with a low polygon model, okay, because it needs to physically get applied to the mesh. But you could do it on the hard surface, right, piece. So that would be possible. All right. Hopefully that helps. Let me know. Okay, back to this guy. All right, so what I start to kind of look at, and when I start doing this, I start thinking about kind of how this mech piece is going to move, let's say, right? So I start looking at that. Oh, let me turn my quick mode back on because I turned it off. Transform, and let's see, quick 3D edit mode. Okay, so I got to start using this as a piece, right? So I'm gonna up my resolution just a little bit here. Let's go in the like 405 range, just to get some more topology in here, so I don't destroy things when I'm smoothing so much anymore. It's a little low to now where I'm at. So this looks good, okay. So I'm going with a mech here. So I'm gonna set myself up design-wise and start thinking about breaking this arm up, breaking it and make it look hard surface and make it look cool. So I like to use, since I'm going for some kind of samurai guy that's humanoid-like, might as well just use some humanoid piece, okay? Let's see, Blood Rapture. God, I love your name, man. Is there a way to Boolean with a Boolean and keep it all live? So I'm gonna guess what you're trying to do is you are making a mesh that has a bunch of Boolean results, and now you also, that mesh that's being created at the end of all the results, you now also want to use it as part of other Boolean processes, I'm assuming, right? Is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to make a piece from Booleans and then now use that piece as maybe a subtractive or something like that. Is that what you're trying to do? Can you share a little bit more with me so I can make sure I walk you through the right way to go here? I want to make sure I have that for you. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to make a little customized bar here in the bottom that I have a little bit of hard surface bar. I'm going to customize this. I'm going to add a couple more things of where I'm going to go with this. So I like using, let's see, I'm going to grab the pinch brush in here as well. So I will grab, that's in the sculptural section. And then we'll grab our pinch. I'm going to pull that and put that down here. Let's grab the Damien standard as well. I like to use that for some quick items in there. So let's see. I'm going to move I'm going to move that over there. Okay. I'm going to take the divider and also just have the low polygon stuff kind of separated in there. Let's make another copy of that divider and put it there. That way I just kind of makes my mind see things a little bit better. So I got some, I got planar, I got my, okay. All right, I'm gonna say that's good for now. Okay, so I'm making this kind of like a little custom menu in the bottom for my hard surface sculpting sketching ideas a little bit, right? So blood rapture, you really can't use like a Boolean result that's happening in like say one start group, and then have that result because everything's done by rendering. So you could do is convert it, right? That's probably what I would do. And so you could still then use the resulting stuff. Okay, so let's see. Let's make something really quick here so you can get what the heck I'm saying right now. Let's go to something else. Let's just take this. Let's make this a poly mesh. Okay, I'm going to folder this up. Okay, this is going to say, we'll just call Boolean. Okay, all right. That's in a folder. I'm a big, naming things as well. Right, so you guys can do that. We can scribble it here. Cylinder, just so I have it. Okay, so this is, let's just say this is what we have. All right, let's also make this a start group. Okay, so we make that a start group, so we have that process. Let's append a spherical shape. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna rip this off for now. We'll make it smaller, so we're just have it open for us. Oh, you know what? Oh yeah, I have it here. Okay, we're gonna do this. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and convert this now to a Boolean subtract. So that's subtracting in. Let's take this and I'm going to dynamically turn this on. So we have that dynamically. Let's do the same for this. Let's dynamically turn that on as well. Let's see, let's play with a little bit of the sizing. Let's say something like that. Let's go ahead and add now a cube. And normally I would not use these shapes, especially I don't like this cube. I am not a fan of this cube. It's not one that I like to use. I prefer using this cube. Personally, that's what I prefer, is using that cube. It's just a better, it's got clean topology. Right, so let's say, let's move this here. Let's mark this as a subtract. Boolean subtract. And now we've got, say, something like that. Let's turn off polyframe so we can see what we're working with here. Let's go ahead and duplicate it so we got more than one. This is almost becoming like a elbow joint thing happening just by chance. Look at us. Look at me. All right. Let's go ahead and solo this out. Let's go ahead and demodeler this. And insert, so I get a cleaner edge there, and now we can get something more like this. All right, let's go ahead and let's duplicate this one, and then let's bring that down here in the bottom, like this. Let's make this bigger, coming across, say, and then go this way, and then come here. Let's go ahead and dynamically turn that on as well. Okay, and then here, let me look at this. Let's get rid of this one. All right, so delete hidden. Let's go ahead and turn our dynamics up higher on this one, maybe. A little bit, yeah. Okay. So now we can solo this out. Let's make this a subtract. Boom, boom. Okay. So we've got this piece, right? That is kind of this. And now maybe I want to use the top part. And then we got here, let's append a sphere. Okay, and then I'm gonna make this a folder now too. I don't know. Let's just whatever. Call it sphere. Name is not important. Name's not important, okay? And so what I would do with this, so for example, I now got this sphere, right? That I want here and then here. And now I kind of want what I've been doing with that cylinder to be processed into the sphere, right? The problem is now they're all separated and things are going on, okay, in here. And of course, if I move this sphere above the cylinder, it's still not going to give me what I really want per se. So what I would recommend doing in this scenario, and the foldering is so important for you in this scenario, I would then, for this folder, I would go into the folder options and I would run this right here where it says Boolean with dsdiv. What that's going to do is create the result of the folder. Now I can bring this result into this folder, set this as a subtract, and now I'm getting that result there, and then just turn this folder back on. And there you go. Right? And then even this, I can say now sub, and I can kind of just shrink this down and put it like this kind of a thing. And now you can see I'm in essence using a Boolean with a Boolean. This is really the only way you're going to be able to do it because it's a rendering process until we actually commit and tell me, give me that file. Okay? And then now, of course, I'd start having some more fun with this for me personally. I would probably go ahead and insert another cube here, right? And have this be a subtract, probably is what my mind is seeing right now. And I would probably switch to this, kind of make this be creating that look. Something like that, maybe. So it's just more highlighted even more. Okay, so hopefully, does that help for you? Blood Rapture, does that work for you? So this is going to keep it where, in a way, it's non-destructive. Yeah, I've got the resulting piece, but then I still have that folder structure above me. So if I ever want to add something or change something as I'm designing, as I'm going through, I can just go back to this top folder, right, and add whatever I want in here, and then just make the piece again and then apply it back in the folder below it that I'm using. So this is a way you could do that. I'm assuming this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to make a piece from a bunch of Boolean processes, and now you want to use, in essence, what that resulting piece is going to be somewhere else as a Boolean now itself. This is how I would do it. Okay? Let me know if that worked for you. Okay, back to this guy. All right, so I've got my brushes here. First thing I'll start to do is I start to kind of say, all right, if this is going to be some kind of mech piece, let's start doing a little bit of the Damien standard here, okay? So I'm going to make a marker actually here, my undo history. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I kind of want to have an eraser. In fact, that reminds me, let's add one more brush here. Now that I'm thinking about it, let's add, let's see, it's in sculptural, yeah, the history recall. Let's add this brush in this menu of mine, okay. Okay, so the reason why I'm going to do this is I could, start thinking about, okay, it needs to have some kind of surface that comes across, right? And I'm all about being very, very rough. But then I can do a history recall and I can erase stuff at any time, right? So I can say, okay, back to Damien. I kind of went this way with the Damien, right? I went that way. And then me, I would like to start making just like lines like this, kind of. So I tap on the surface, then hold the shift key, and then do that. I'm gonna make my wheel bigger, just so you guys can see it a lot better on the stream. We'll go the biggest size. All right, and then so at history recall, I can then say, oh, I don't like this idea over here. And then now see, I can erase, right? So I'm creating kind of sculptural non-destructive workflow for me, which in my eyes is so crucial and so it's imperative for me to do this, I think, because at this stage I'm just doing a lot of experimenting and then kind of just seeing where do I want to go with this, right? How do I want this to work? And then for me, I really want this to be a working item. So what I mean by that is like if this was 3D printed out, or let's say it's even a prosthetic, I'd want it to actually work, right? That I'd want, right? There's got to be a shoulder bend here, right? There's got to be some kind of shoulder bend so you can see where I'm going. It would be tough, I would say, because I need some humanoid turning, right? So I need this ability somehow, right? So this is happening more on my forearm, right? And then this. So let's see if I'm thinking about this. I got this movement up, right? I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. Okay. So I don't need anything to move here unless I wanted this, like, you know, some kind of like this, but I could put that in the shoulder is where I could put that up on the top. So we might be all right. So then this is what I start thinking about. Okay. So if we're going to put that in the shoulder, we need some kind of mechanical operation happening on the top. You know what? I'm actually going to turn off the old shoulder because I think I'm going to make a new shoulder is what I'm going to do here. But let's keep on, let's keep on this piece. So we're going to we'll keep that on. Let's turn this piece off. Let's stay with this. Let's stay with this look going into this. Okay. You bet. Guys, keep them coming too. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so just keep it coming if you got any questions. Happy to help. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here with this stream as well, is make sure I am helping you guys along the way and you guys just watching me make weird noises and do weird stuff. Okay. Right, so I would say I'm going to say I want maybe a piece to come like this and come around like that. You know what I mean? I think I don't like to get too exact anatomy because I really want to make sure it is a hard surface look to it as well. And I'm going to dig into here and we're going to make probably a rounded portion here. And I'm going to separate the tricep area from the rest of the body. Okay, and then this is, I like to call this dyna sketching, is what I like to call this. Okay, so I'm going to start now let's put a little joint in here. Let's start putting some joints in here. So before I start going down the rabbit hole too deep here. So let's go ahead and I'll append a spherical shape. Okay, so we got this. I'm going to rename this as let's rename that as sphere joint. Whoops. Okay, so we have that renamed. Let's go ahead and bring that down. And let's make this be part of the arm so that we can get some movement in here. I think we need more something like this, but not so big. All right, let's go ahead and throw in some transparency. Okay, and I say we do this, and in fact, right now, I'm going to turn the arm off. And I'm going to put this more here and go a little bit bigger. We have something like this. And in fact, you know, this is me. I'm going to be even a little more particular here with this, I think. I'm going to go back to this piece. And let's go ahead. I'm going to customize this menu a little bit more. Let's go geometry. Let's move that slider also in here, so that I can just up my slider where I want. Okay, and then I'm going to put something else in this menu that I like to use often. So let's go into the geometry. I like to use bevels. No. Definitely need. Don't need the remeasure. Holding points. No. That's not what I'm looking for. Dynamic. Okay, then dynamic, dynamic, dynamic. Loops. Crazy. Here we go. I want this crease tolerance slider. I want that as well. So I got the diamond, I got this. Actually, not that one. I want the crease level slider. Okay, and then done. And that way I can drop this down to 2. Give me something like that. Okay, let's turn off this. Let's go to here. I'm going to center this. We'll reset this. Hold Control, click on the arrow. Then let's replace this with this sphere. Okay, and then we'll switch back to our gizmo. And then this is going to be away. And this is already aligned with the sphere, the cylinder. So this is how we could start getting the arm to kind of roll on itself and get some of these movements, right? The cylinder will give me full 360 rotation this way, and then the sphere is going to give me everything else that way. I think this is the joint kind of idea I'm going to start going with here. So we'll go a little bit bigger, okay? And then now let's turn on the arm, and let's duplicate this piece. And then let's bring this down to the arm that I'm working on. Okay, let's turn that arm back on. Okay, we got a series problem there. We'll fix that. And let's go ahead and make this a subtract. Okay, and then this, we'll clear this. Let's center it. Make sure we reset. I'm going to go a little bit smaller here with this. Okay, and then here we will, let's hide. Let's collapse this for now. Okay, and let's turn this off. So we got something like this brewing. Got something like that brewing, okay? Turn this back on. Right, which is view 2, so we can view 1, view 2s now. All right, so we got something going here. And so now my problem is the shoulder obviously has an issue. Okay, look, I need another brush that I probably want to have in this default one that I'm making now. So I'm going to take the move, and I'm going to use move, actually. I want to put move in here. I'm going to take the move infinite as well. I use that one a lot, and I'm going to use move topological as well. Just building a little bottom bar for hard surface sketching workflow as I go here. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm just reading the questions. Hey, Paul, how quick and efficient would you say UV unwrapping is in ZBrush compared to traditional poly modeling applications? Well, we have one button solutions to unwrap. It depends on really what UV you care about having. If you don't really care about the UVs, you just press one button and you've got an unwrap. So if you want a UVs, okay, so here I'm gonna start saving this. Let's save that. Oops. Okay, saved. Okay, so as far as UVing goes, here actually, let's save this. Save this as, we're gonna call this mech arm, and then I'm gonna put VVV1 so I can start doing iterations of this. Let's go back into here. Let's say new sculpt. Let's grab this guy. Okay, so as far as your UVs go, here we'll do this. We want this one. We'll just look at this right now. So one button solutions is very fast inside of ZBrush as far as doing UVs. So here you can go to your UV map, and then there's automatic unwrappers here in the projection. So If I just want to take advantage of as much of the UV space as possible, and I don't care what the UVs look like, then this is your way to go. PUV tiles, which I just tapped on. Now it's done. Okay, and then now if I come up here and say, well, won't have any bump, and I morph it, this is what your UVs will now look like. So there's your UVs. Done. It's just one button. Over. Okay? Now, if you want UVs that you want to kind of tell that this is a human head, right now it just looks like a bunch of blocks. So if you want something that is like a human head-like, then that's a different thing. So I'm going to unmorph that. And then what we're going to use is the plugin UV Master that's now available on the iPad. And then I'm going to say, let's enable control painting and let's do protect. And so now what we'll do is say, hey, let's go a lot bigger. All right, let's do this. Let's protect the front of that face, okay? As much as we can. And the ears, I think, are important. So this is in essence where I'm saying, I'm telling ZBrush, if you can, when you unwrap it, automatically unwrap this, try not to put a seam through here, okay? Then I'm going to say attract, and now I'm going to paint with blue, and then paint that right there, okay? And then now I just tell it to unwrap. It's done, it's unwrapped, and if I want to see it, I can flatten it, and then there's your UVs. Okay? So is this what you're looking for? These are just quick solutions. And again, if you're not really concerned about your UVs, what they look like, then these are ones you can use for sure. ZBrush does not have any type of UV editor. So you can edit the UV space in here. If you had a bunch of islands, it would be possible to edit it here. But that's about it. There's no other place to edit and move around UVs inside of ZBrush. But you can get quick UVs this way. So let me know if that is what you were looking for, if that helps, while I move on to the next question from Polyfusion Studio. Okay, let me see what your question is here. When I apply the unlit material, I can't paint on the model. How can I paint in unlit? It's kind of reset when I fill the object with it. What do you mean unlit? Do you mean the material that is this, the flat color material? Flat color material is no material. So if you fill the model with this flat color, in essence, you're erasing any material attributes so that when you actually start selecting materials, it automatically updates them on the model and shows them to you on the model. So the flat color is no material at all. So if you fill it, you've erased the material, is what you've done. So normally most people paint, I'll go standard material. When you're like poly painting, most people use this material, Skin Shade 4, because it's very, very bright and it's white, but then it's still got some shading attribute in it, so you can see the shading of the model. Okay. Hand paint on the material because I want to pick color. It shifts the color. Okay, but you want to shift the material color or the painting colors? You got to remember, in ZBrush, you can physically paint the model, and then that's where you can actually change colors too, right? So in this scenario, you're better off filling the model with this actual material, and then you can paint with color. So in this example, okay, so in this example here, let's do a couple things here. So let's say, here, let's divide this up just so it looks better. All right, so this is a very bright material. Okay, so I'm going to open up this, and I'm going to say material, okay? And then I'm going to say, we'll open up the color and keep it docked. And I say fill object, so now it's got the color material filled. This material has its own modifiers. Okay, so there's all these modifiers here that you can play with. All right, and then you can see there's a diffuse swap. So if I go to my diffuse, all right, so not this diffuse. This is just how strong you want the diffuse coming through in essence. I want the diffuse color. cavity color, fall reflection, canvas, anticipate, colorize. Here it is. I passed it. Right, so see now it's using the red with in conjunction. So then obviously now this is how you could have a material like this that can take on also a color itself. So now this material is actually the yellow is what it's got in it, right? So I had to turn up that diffuse color slider, this one right here. And right now it's also using specular color, right? So if I want this to be at 0, then the specularity is going to be white. Right now this is blending with the blue because the spec color is blue, right? So any color you click here, right, that's what it's going to blend with. So these are like blending coloring. So there is this approach, okay? There's this way to go. I'm going to switch this back to just white, and we can turn this off right now. So we'll put that at 0. Okay. So then obviously what you can do is switch over here to RGB over in this slider over here. Right here, there's this button RGB. And now you can just paint with any color, right? So I have the paintbrush selected down here. Now you just paint, and now you just grab whatever color you want. If you want to fill the whole thing, you just fill it with blue, and now you can see it blue with those material attributes. Okay? So this, let me see if this is what you were looking for. I'm catching up with what the questions were. Okay. I'm gonna rip this out so I can, hold on, I'm gonna make it so I can make my chat larger and longer. 1 second. Be faster to find things, I think. Okay. Okay. Pod Raptor, do you know if UDIMs are coming to the morph view? Can't say that. All I can tell you about UDIMs is it on our list to dive in and take a look at what we can do with UDIMs? Yes, it's on the list of what possibilities we'll be able to do with UDIMs. UDIMs is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for ZBrush than maybe other applications because of just how many polygons we can go to, right? If we got meshes that, we got 100 meshes and they got millions upon millions and it equals 150 million polygons, and now we got to start throwing, 10 textures per subtool, multiply. It's a lot of data that's got to be figured out. So it's going to take a lot to figure it out. It's almost like figuring out another Mari type of workflow in essence. So that's all I can tell you about UDIMs. It's something we have to look into. Okay, so polyfusion, looks like I answered your question. And a texture, and then I picked my color, it's slightly shifted. When I load a reference plane and a texture, when I pick my color, it's slightly shifted. Okay, so this is where you would want, it's slightly shifted because probably the material you have on it has some shaded value to it, most likely. So you would want to have a plane probably. So if you're going to do that, on desktop, I use 2.5D to do this. We don't have 2.5D ability inside of the iPad. Occasionally it does happen, and I see if you do have it happen to you, you can actually clear the canvas still. So in here, you can go here, and then there's a clear button. That is clearing the canvas. But we made a point of not having 2.5D in the iPad, just to streamline the 3D process, make this easier. The number one complaint people have learning ZBrush when they first open it is why they draw out so many of their models, right? How do I go into 2.5D mode on iPad? So you can't. So Logan, there's your answer. You can't. We don't allow 2.5D in the iPad right now. So you want to do, in essence, probably Shift S, right? Logan, is what you're trying to do. Okay. So for your color stuff, what I would do is I would, in the tool palette here, let's go here, let's go to a plane. We'll make that a poly mesh. So obviously we want the color to be white right now. And what I would do is I would take another material. Let's say this material. And I would edit this material. Okay. To actually say no diffuse, no specularity, and I would bump the ambient all the way up. So you only need it to be at 100. Okay. And then that's it. That's all you would need. Right? So this in essence has no material information on it, right? And so when you go and say, now let's just divide this up a little bit. We don't necessarily need to divide it up, but I'm in a dividing mood. And then I'm going to say in here, again, let's go into that texture map. Let's just grab something here. Let's grab this. Okay. And I'm going to say, that looks good. And then I'm going to say, let's fill this. Let's take this texture actually and apply it as polypaint from texture. Okay. So now this plane, right? It could be a subtool that I already always have on. So in this scenario, because I don't have 2.5D, so I would probably append this now. And then now I have this, and then I would just move this off somewhere right here as an example. And then now with the color picker, you can, pick a color, right, straight from this image, right? So you can grab this color here, and then so you can just keep picking a color from the image. And then now it's not going to have a variation because the material that was filled on the plane, there isn't any. It's just flat. So that's probably what's your problem on the desktop side. You're on a mesh that has some material shading value to it, and then that's what ZBrush is picking up as well. That could be your problem. So let me know if that's your problem. Okay? So there you go. Question answered. All right. I'm going to close this. I don't want this open. I'll like using that. All right, let me see what else there is before I go back to my model. Thanks, but in what case would you not care about UVs given that you still want to add materials to present the sculptural feature? You don't need UVs in ZBrush to do anything. The only thing you need UVs for is if in ZBrush world is if you're trying to use maps, like a texture map that you want to apply perfectly to a model, or maybe you want to use a UV mode in surface noise, or maybe you want to draw or paint or sculpt right on the flat version of your UVs. Otherwise, you don't need UVs. The materials aren't driven by UVs in ZBrush, unlike you have in, say, Substance Painter. It's driven by your UVs and your mesh size, right? Kind of stuff is what's happening. It's procedural. So it's using like mapping to do it. So you could use UVs for that, but it's not a material thing in ZBrush. You would paint it or actually sculpt it. We don't have materials like you do in, say, something like Substance or Cinema 4D, where it's procedural stuff that's giving you guys the details. That's not what ZBrush has. It doesn't have materials necessarily like that. You can apply a texture to materials for sure, but you're not going to really have much control of it like you do in, say, Substance Painter. If that's what you're trying to do, you're not going to have as much control like that. If there's something where you can share a link with me and show me exactly what you're trying to do, then I can go from there. And as far as the UI goes, for the iPad, you're asking, is it coming to PC? All I can share with you guys is this has obviously sparked a lot of conversations about UI because percentage everyone's saying they love the new UI on the iPad. So yes, we're in conversations internally about what can we start to do with the desktop UI and look into that. That's all I can share with you at this time. So we'll see. It has definitely sparked, and we're kind of using the iPad itself UI as experiments and figure out things that we can do. And especially when we go to the desktop, it's just a little bit more of a grandioso project because now we've got monitors that are larger. We don't have a problem with UI, being open on a desktop because it's got so much bigger monitors. Obviously, this also UI is built around touch and using your finger for a lot of stuff. So there's certain things we got to think about that you don't have touch on the desktop. Okay? Okay, so there you go. We don't want to do. I see people when I need a reference point. Okay, I'm just catching up. Okay, that one 3D artist. Man, you guys have such way better, clever names than I can ever come up with. I miss this part of streaming. You guys with the names. I love it. Hi, Paul. What is the proficient way to turn a decimated mesh into a quad polygon model while retaining detail without polygon fusion? ZBrush is a great tool, but I lose a lot form and surface detail. That's the only way you can do it. There is no other way to do it. You can't just, you can try and convert the triangles into quads, but the decimation is also trying to make smaller triangles in certain areas and bigger triangles in certain areas. There's nothing else you can do to do that. But you can get all the detail back if you wanted to, even though you have a Z-remeshed surface. That's not a problem. For sure. Which platform can I use them? Can you put a link in the chat here? Can you put a link in the chat? Try and see if you can put a link in the chat. I have no idea if you go to a link in the chat. If not, you can send it to me on my Instagram, which my Instagram is just my name. It's just, and then I can look at it on my Instagram if you want to do it that way. So this is my Instagram. It's just my name, but it's Gaboury first. It's Gaboury Paul. So you could send it there too, and then let me know if you do send it there, and then I'll pick up my phone and I'll take a look. But back to the decimated portion part. Here, let's take something else. Here, let's go back to the home. I think we put, let's take this model. Okay, and then let's this is decimated, right? This is a decimated model already. Let's take the dog right now and let's split him away right now. And so he's just this. Let's go ahead and Dynamesh it. Okay, let's go up a lot more in resolution. Let's go in that 1000 range. Okay, good enough. All right, so now we have this. And then now let's throw some details on this a little bit. So we'll use the standard. Let's use a spray. Let's grab an alpha. Let's grab, say, this one. Okay, and then let's grab this one. Let's make some detailing there. Let's grab, where's that one? Here, this one. I'm going to grab this one. All right, and then that's not do a spray. Let's go a little bit bigger. So we got something like that. Let's do that. Let's do a drag rec. Let's do something that is seen. Let's do a star. But let's use drag stamp instead. So I can play with that, and let's play with the focal shift. Let's make the focal shift negative so we can start pulling on the stars. So let's just make some stars in some locations. This is what I like about the new drag stamp. It's kind of an intensity stamper, right? So I can bring that intensity back and forth. This is a new stroke that is only available in 2025, 2024. So, okay, let's say we got this. And now let's also turn off dynamics, and now let's also divide it up. Divide it up. Okay, so now we're at 2.3 million. So now we're going to get better stars too. We'll hold Alt, make some in. Let's go back to that spray. Let's grab this. Let's now come in here and make some spray marks in there. Let's go back to this one. Make it so, and we'll hold Alt. So it's kind of, I'm just throwing a bunch of just crazy detail on this, right? Because you're asking the question about the decimation. Okay, so for example, we need to switch to Decimation Master here. Let's rip it off. Okay, and I'm going to say, let's just pre-process this. I don't need anything else. I'm going to pre-process this. Okay, so it's processing. There we go. And it's done. Took 10.3 seconds. Now, let's decimate it. So let's turn on polyframe so we can see what we're doing. Let's zoom in a little bit here. All right, and then now let's move down to the decimation. Let's do 20% decimation. Okay, so then we still have all our details, but it's decimated here. Let's go a little bit lower, and then we'll decimate that. And so we can, this is the beauty of our decimation. Here we can go, I guess, that low. Let's go that low, right? So now we got all these details, and it's decimated, right? And to your point, what you're bringing up is, hey, I want to Z-remesh this, okay? So I'm looking at a Z-remeshing of this. So I'm going to say for this dog, I'm going to give it a little bit more. Let's give it twice as much. Let's give it 10. I'm going to say this is good enough. And then let's go ahead and remesh this. So like you said, you're going to lose some details here, of course, because the goal of the Z-remesher is look at the sculpt, try, and you can see some of the stars are still there. Try to follow the flow a little bit. Line the topology so it sculpturally works better, right? Then reduce the polygon count and make it all quad. Like the Z-remesher is not about, hey, keep it at 4 million polygons, but just make it all quads. That's not what this is doing. That would take a while to probably even do these calculations. So, but I'm not too concerned, because then what I do is now I say, okay, let's divide this up. So we were sitting around 4 million. So I'm going to divide this up. Let's get closer to that number. Here, let's get to that 4 million mark, right? So now we got this dog at 4 million. We've lost all the details. I'm actually going to come in here to the undo history and go back to the sculpted detail. And I'll make a marker on this. And you can see that marker was red before. Is because if you remember, when I started doing my mech, I stored an undo history. So that was telling me, hey, you have an undo marker here, right? And now I'm making a new one for this subtool, and that's why it changed to orange, because there's a lot of things we can do with this. And now I come back to this version. And so you see there's a little marker there that shows you your undos. And now all I need to do is tell in the subtool palette here. So I'm going to open this up. There's a project, okay? And now project history is available. So I'm just going to tap on that project history. Okay, and then ZBrush is going to look at the undo history mark and then now project the details back in. So this is really the only thing you can do with a decimated mesh. There's not really, otherwise you have to redo your topology by hand. So it's faster to use the Z-remesher, right? Because it's one button, get the Z-remesh. So this would be the workflow. In fact, I don't use project all anymore in ZBrush, really. I use this project history. Project all for me now is really only if I actually do want to project a bunch of subtools into one. That is the only time I would use project all now. Project history is so much better. It's my go-to for this process. And the beauty part is I don't have to keep making subtools for projections. I just use the exact same subtool because I just use my undo history. Okay? So this is a way you could go to it, right? You don't even have to dynamesh it if you don't want to. You could, but you don't need to. So who was asking me that question? Okay. That one 3D artist. Does that answer your question for you? Hopefully. Yes? Spagoli Bueller. Yeah. Hopefully that answers that for you. Okay? I'll wait until you have time to reply because obviously there's a delay from when I'm talking. Link you to what I'm referring to. All right. So Toonly, is there any setting to change the tablet sensitivity in ZBrush? There's a ton of settings for tablet pressure sensitivity to mellow. Did you send me anything on Instagram but that you wanted? Here, let me see. And if so, what's your name on Instagram if you sent me something? Okay, let me know. All right, so inside of ZBrush, the pressure sensitivity is, there's a global setting, and then there's settings for each individual brushes, and you can choose which ones you want to use. And some brushes are using local, and some brushes are using the global. So the global is in your settings. Okay, so in iPad it's called pressure. Here's your pressure sensitivity. So this is saying, hey, when I push hard, right? That's controlling your size, your Z intensity, your color intensity. All right, so this is all looking at your pressure sensitivity. So if I wanted no pressure sensitivity to change the size, I would make that top slider 1, and then it's always going to be the same. Okay, so as far as brushes go, you also have the ability in the brushes themselves to change your brush pressure right here. Right, so this particular brush, as an example, the standard brush is using its own modifiers. So you can say here, use global settings, and now it's going to go look at that preference setting instead for this brush. Excuse me. If this is off, now it's using these graphs. So it's using this for your size, it's using a graph for your intensity, and it's using this for your RGB. So this gives you a complete control. The fact that it's on a graph and not a slider, you can manipulate this and have multiple dots, multiple things. That's why we did it on a graph. It just gave us more power as a users instead of just doing on a slider. So this is how you can control your pressure sensitivity. So as an example, for me, one of my favorite brushes, especially for hard surface, and in fact here, let's go into this and let's go to my sculpts. Let's load this one. Okay, so one of my favorite brushes for this that I like, that I would probably put down here now that I think about it, let's add it. I'm building myself a nice little thing right here. It is the chisel brush. This brush right here, I love this brush. This is one of my favorite brushes. Okay, so this brush allows you to create a nice stream cut line, right? Better than Damien Standard, in all honesty, right? This is going to be better than that. You can have brushes that have multiple stepping. So if I go a little bit bigger here, right, you can see it has stepping in it, right? So this is just a very nice brush for me, okay? So this, I do not want to use pressure sensitivity, because then you're getting this, right? So for me, I'm almost at the point where I might turn this off for us by default. So for me, I would say I would prefer this brush to be more like that, as an example, which means ignore the pressure. So that means no matter how soft I press, I'm really soft, or how hard I press, now I'm really hard, it's the same exact stroke. There's no difference, right? So that's an example where pressure sensitivity could work for you, okay? Hopefully that answers your question for you. Let me know. Where'd you go? Where'd that go? I'm just playing catch up. You guys are being interactive today. I like it. All right, catching up. Okay. Okay. Do you have a good workflow of reference images since we don't have Spotlight yet? Use the iPad split screen on isn't great work for you, Logan. Okay, so the only thing you have in the iPad right now is you can use the floor grid. So this is one reference imaging that you can use, is the actual floor grid. So I can say, hey, give me the Z floor grid. And then now this has a menu for it. Okay, so if we go back and we say floor grid, down here at the front and back, you can bring an image in here. You can bring in 2 images. So if I say image 1, let's use this, and then let's use image 2, let's use this. There you go. Okay, so now this has got a reference image, and I can turn it, and then they'll actually swap. I use this especially for when I'm doing some kind of mech piece in here. And then you can do things in this with this as well. So it has projection. Okay, so you can snap to the grid and see now you even get your model is snapped to the grid in all angles, as an example. So you can use this to see what's the difference between A and B. So there's stuff like that that you can do as well. And then you can even project it onto the grid, right? You can just snap the grid to your model. So if we go back and say, let's put those images back since I replaced them. Let's use that. And then let's use, again, Let's use this, very different. Right? And so now this grid size is the size of the arm. And then now you can swap through images. This is the only thing right now on the iPad that we have that'll allow you guys to bring in references besides using what you already brought up, using the split screen ability. There is nothing else that can be done. Make sense for you? Hopefully that helps a little bit. I use especially for hard surface. I usually are obviously using some kind of specs. Okay, got the sensitivity. My video froze after you remeshed it. Could you show the project history again, please? And thank you. Okay, so I killed that model. Let's see, did we luck out and maybe it quick saved or it saved? I don't think it did. Oh, I guess it did. Okay, so all you're doing here, let's see what one do we have. Okay, so this is the remeshed version. So, okay, there we go. All right, so this is the version. We've remeshed it. I've divided it up, right? So I have divisions here. And then now I want to take the details that's in the original one and put it on this dog, right? So I would need undo history to do this, right? So then now I can go back and say, okay, that's what I want. I make a mark. So that little flag is a marker. And you see it makes a little arrow now with a line. And if I come through my undo histories, you see that little line stays. That little marker stays, okay? And then now I want to take that marker information and put it in this sculpt here, okay? And so all you have to do is in Subtool, okay, in projection, you just click on project history. That's it. And then it's going to calculate. And what it's going to do is going to go look back at that undo marker and then only use that as information to project into the model. That's it. Does that make sense? Let me know if you were able to see that one. That one 3D artist. Jump in there for me. Let me know. Let me know. Listen, Harsh, I love tangents. You know, I have a tangent cape. Can you tell me how I can sculpt wrinkles in a paper bag? I want it to look crumbled. I am making Taco Bell paper bag and going to print it in bronze. Thank you. Okay, so there's a couple ways you could go about this, right? So let's think about this. All right, let's say, let's go here. Let's go to the tool palette. Let's grab this one. Let's initialize. Let's up the divisions this way, just a little bit more. Let's turn on polyframe so we can see what we're looking at. Okay, good enough. So I'll make that a poly mesh. Okay, and let's go ahead and say, okay, we don't want the floor on. All right, and let's take this. And let's take bend arc. Okay, and then let's just make a little quick bend in here. Tighten it up a little bit more. Something more like that. Let's see, let's go that level of it. Okay, I'm going to say accept it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just Z-remesh this. So it's just better topology. Z-remesh it again. Let's drop it way down. Okay, good enough. Perfect. Let's go ahead and let's turn on dynamic. So it's just smooth. We'll turn that up to 4. And for giggles, let's actually, in dynamic, might as well pull this slider out too. Let's add some thickness to it. So we got a little shell in there. All right, and let's see, I can play with this. There we go. Okay, so we've got a taco. We've got a taco in here. Okay, so something like that. All right. Let's position this in the way that it should be. Oh boy. Okay, and let's just say something like that. And then, okay, that's good enough for a mesh. Let's take and let's append. I'm going to put the plus symbol. Let's append it now. Let's append a plane. Here's my plane. Okay. And let's go back to the gizmo. Let's do this. And in fact, might as well take the time because I'm going to use it again anyways. So let's go to geometry. And then here's dynamic subdiv. Let's grab that thickness slider. Let's go ahead and add it. Done. Okay, and that way I can grab it here if I want. So we'll turn dynamic on. We'll give the plane some thickness as well. Okay, so now you can use dynamics if you want to. All right, so we can start messing with this and start playing with dynamics. Okay, so what I'm going to do is open up the dynamics menu. We'll pull this off. And now what I want to tell ZBrush is, okay, this plane that I'm using, I want you to understand all the other subtools that are turned on and allow collision to happen. So I'm just going to tap on collision volume. It'll do the calculation. It's done. Right? And then I'm going to come into the brush. I'm going to go into transpose. And I'm going to grab the transpose cloth, this one. And then now, because I've done that dynamics, when you pull on this plane, you can see it starts to wrap into, in essence, my taco. Right? So I would probably want this to shift like this. And then you can start playing. I can shrink it. Right? And then start playing with this however I want. Okay, and then of course you can then smooth out stuff, and then now I can switch to some of our dynamics brushes, so our cloth brushes, and then a cloth hook, and you can go a little bit bigger. So you could do this. This is going to keep colliding, so if I pull on this, right, this is just me sculpturally moving it around, and then it's colliding with this. Right, so you can do this if you wanted to, right? This is a way to get something to start looking at cloth, and again, smooth it out if you want. All right, and then there is a smoothing cloth brush, which is the last one, and that'll allow me to actually smooth out this, so I can actually shrink this to fit kind of better to the taco in this scenario. I don't need the plane to be this big. So this is smoothing brushes specifically when we're using cloth. Right, and then now just start adjusting again. And again, you can switch to the transpose, so I can go recent, and then there's my transpose cloth, and start playing with this. Okay, and then you can have an inflate distance. So I can up this to 2, and then now it'll stay further away from the plane, right? So you can keep upping this. And then it's going to evaluate again, and then now, see, it's keeping a distance if you wanted to. If you want it closer, then you drop this number down, okay? And then you can start doing stuff like this. Right? Is that what you're looking for? Something like that? So what could also work for you is, what we could also do is, here, let's delete this one. Let's take this one. Let's duplicate this. All right, and let's see, my taco's on an angle. And let me switch to the regular. Let's delete this and fix this. Okay, right now we are in cron. Let's do transpose. Let's do a regular transpose. Let's do that. Okay, so this mesh, we could also just reuse it as well, right? So if we duplicate this, I've got this one. We'll turn on polyframe. We could just, cut something out of this, right? That follows along. So we could say masking lasso and then just make a lasso here. And this is probably where I would want on this one. Let's actually, did I put the apply in here? I did not. So let's go to our tool, and I'm going to apply these dynamics actually. So it's actual geometry. Okay, and then I'm going to say let's mask off something like this. Let's come out of perspective. And let's make it show I'm looking at the taco more like that. And in fact, we only need the yellow portion. We do not need anything else for this, now that I think about it. And then geometry, modify topology, and delete hidden, which I actually have here. Okay, and then, so now I make a mask, whatever I want, right? You can then also clear the masks, right? If you want. Let's just say something like that, we'll say. Okay, then I'm going to say making a new poly group. It's good there. Then I'm going to say, let's go ahead, for me, I'm going to throw polish by groups. Just polish this up. All right, let's solo this out. And in fact, let's go ahead and switch to a smoothing brush like this. Let's actually use intersections. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit more. Okay, then I'm going to say let's remesh this, but let's keep the groups when I remesh it. Oh, let's turn off symmetry so it doesn't make it symmetrical. And then now all I care about is the green now. And this is in essence the start of the napkin that's already, or the packaging that's already wrapped around the taco, right? So it's already there. And then dynamically now we can turn this on. You can add the thickness that you want, play this around, and then apply the thickness, and then you'll be able to bronze that. I forget who was asking that, but does this make sense for you? Where are we? Where were we with that question? Who was asking me that? Oh, harsh, right? Yes, harsh. You were asking that. I also like, there's a brush I also like, FYI, there's a brush I like to add some little, besides grabbing these clothing brushes like this, like, and just giving it cloth, right? Some cloth look in here, right? And then you could switch to move and then move this out. There's a lot we can start doing here, right? But there is one brush that I like to use sometimes. I don't remember if it's on the iPad. Let's see. It might be on the desktop only. I don't remember if we put this one. Let's see. Oh, we did. Here, crumble. This brush is pretty awesome to just kind of look like crumbled paper a little bit. So with low polygon, right? It's going to just do like little iterations, okay, in here. But if we divide this up now, And here, do we have, I think we have dynamic on. Yeah, so let's turn dynamic off. And let's just divide this up normally. Right? This brush does that. See? Kind of makes, like, almost like crumbling paper. Like when we made this brush, it made me think of a paper bag crumbling up. And then, of course, you can smooth this back. So I go back to normal smooth. You can push all this back a little bit, too, if you want to. Right? So you walk down in subdivision levels and kind of uncrumble some of it if you want. But it add little imperfections in places that I think sometimes can be very beneficial. Right? So this brush was a lot of fun for me to kind of, and then you could do like circular motions and then, right, just let ZBrush kind of do some work for you. So maybe that brush will be good for you, that crumble brush, and then you can have stuff crumbling around it. I've used that before. It's good for environments too, especially if you go really big. Right? You can really do some unique stuff. Just let the brush do the work. It's the same thing, you know what brush I also love doing this with is sculptural blob. Especially when you go big, right? This is what it's doing. But if you go really big, right, you can do crazy stuff with this. And then, or, you know, if you go really small, it's interesting. Then what I do sometimes is I throw an alpha on this as well. And then, so then I'll go a little bit bigger. Right, so this is cool for environments. I found this brush really interesting. It creates some interesting, hey, The Last of Us. Almost like mushroom-like, right? So, hopefully that helps for you, Harsh. Let me know if that worked for you. What computer specs determines the delay when I scrub through the undo history? I have 32 gigs on a new rig, but on a heavy mesh, going back undo delays for 5 to 10 seconds sometimes. It depends on your polygon count, right? Because it's got to recalculate all the vertex points. So 32 is not bad. 32 gigs is not bad, but if you can afford 64 gigs or 128, I would probably upgrade your RAM. It's also going to come down to your processor speed too, and how fast it can calculate any of the processes that are happening with the processing and the RAM. So, but if the model is like millions of, like if you're going like you're trying to go 50 million and go back and undo history, that's going to take time to calculate them, right? And then we as humans are going like this really fast. Well, ZBrush still has to go through every single undo marker in its memory to get you to that point. So there's not going to be too much craziness that you can do, in all honesty. Okay, so but I would go at least 64 gigs of RAM. I think is good. If you can do 128, even better. But like even me, I think I'm using 64 on my laptop. I gotta double check. I don't even have, and I think I got 128 on my Mac Studio. I don't remember what I have on it. Let me see, what do I have on my Mac Studio? Yeah, I got 128 gigs of RAM on my Mac Studio. Okay, Tumelo. I am not sure how to put this question. How do I turn my sculpt to be made up of a material like wire mesh or any cutout material, not, for example, solid clay sculpt? Well, that's easier said than done, actually. So here, we can probably just use this. Let's get rid of all the sculpting here. Okay. And let's drop the subdivision levels down a lot more. And let's delete them. And let's go into here. Let's go into geometry. I'm assuming you're looking for something. So I'm going to turn on dynamic. And let's see if it's still doing thick skin. Let's say no thick skin this time. And one thing you might want to try is micro poly. So I'm assuming you're looking for something like this. Let's say something like that. Is this kind of what you're looking for? Something like this? So it looks like a mesh. Is that what you want? This will also work with dynamics, by the way. So if we went back and saw the recents and we grab this and we start playing with this, you can see the dynamics will actually work on this with the dynamics. Is that what you're looking for, Tumelo? Because that's an easy way to do it. If not, there is another way that you could do it in ZBrush, and at least in ZBrush, but are you trying to get it out? Let me see. Let me read your question again. Okay, so if you're not trying to get it out of ZBrush, there is a couple other things that you can do just using ZBrush itself. So I could turn this off. Let's turn this off for now. Let's turn off dynamic. Okay, let's just smooth this out right now. Okay, we've got this, and in fact, here let's use this. Let's use the actual plane. Okay, so this goes back to a little bit of where this is where UVs will come in handy for us. Okay, so I could technically, in here. Let's make this a poly mesh. Let's go now to surface noise. Let's turn on surface noise. Okay, so now we've got, in essence, a noise on here. It's just this noise that's on there right now. It's a graph that's on there right now. All right. And then let's bring in an alpha. I don't know what I have on my iPad as far as images go, in all honesty. Know what I have in here. Okay, here we go. We got one. All right, awesome. All right, so let's say this. Okay, so now this is being applied, right, as noise. And now this, I don't want it to mix with the other noise, so just give me this. This has got a scale to it, right? So I can say UV, and then now this is going to look like that, right? So we can obviously inverse this, the opposite. So if you go the other way, it goes one way. You go this way, it goes another way. Okay? And then you can have a noise of mixing, affecting if you want to. Right? So you have effective noise mixing. So you can mix it. Right? Like this. But what we could do is we could use the curve itself. And so we can go to the curve settings here, and then we can change the focal. No, let's change the offset. And then now you have this. So if I inverse it, let's see if I flip it. This is now rendering, and now we can play with the scale, right? It's rendering a mesh look now, but it's surface noise doing it. Okay, and then of course this would also work with dynamics because it's just surface noise doing it. Is that what you're looking for? Something like that? Okay, so if you want to export to Marmoset or other renderers, then the other way will actually create topology and geometry. So once you apply it, you need to apply it in dynamic subdiv. So when you're in the dynamic subdiv and we go back here, can we, let's see if we got, here, this one. There we go. Let's turn dynamics on. Okay, so when you're doing this, you want this to be the geometry to take to Marmoset, you would need to hit this apply button in dynamics. And now it's there. Now it's actual geometry. Now you can take that into any other renderer that you want. This would be one example. In the other one, it is a little bit possible. So watch. Let's see if we can do it. Let's do this. Let's say that's good enough. Let's add a little thickness to this. Not a ton. We can go maybe, let's say there. Let's apply this. So now that we've got this as a mesh, let me see. I'm trying to think of the iPad. I'm trying to think of what the iPad has and making sure what I want to do, we have it here. Okay. So now if I turn this into a Dynamesh, okay, it looks like this. But we need to go bigger for this example because my Dynamesh is pretty low. Let's edit this. Let's make the alpha scale a little bit bigger. Like that. Let's go ahead and Dynamesh this up just a bit. Okay, and we need to turn on Dynamesh mode. So now that it's on, then I haven't tried this on the iPad yet, honestly. Let's see. I'm going to make this be smaller. And then down here in Dynamesh, other and twice. So there. This is now geometry from the surface noise. I'm going to go with none of you probably knew you could do that. Right? So because it's a Dynamesh, we have a little fun hidden feature that if you hold the Alt key and click on the Add button here, will look at the surface noise. The fact that I have that focal shift, it will delete the stuff that obviously isn't there in the mesh and then give us what's left is this mesh. So obviously in this workflow, you might want to go up a little bit higher. Like I would maybe try 1,000 on this particular piece. So let's re-Dynamesh. Okay, let's see how well it handles this. Alt and there. So now you can see this is actual geometry. Okay, so if I smooth, it is geometry that I'm smoothing. Right, so you could take this out and go to another application. All right, there is some examples for you of what you could do to make sense for you. Hopefully. Yep. All right, let me call rendering pieces that made in ZBrush directly on the iPad. Is there an app for iPad that allows rendering pieces made in ZBrush directly on the iPad? Yes, there is an app that you can plop USD files in. That's just in essence Octane's on the iPad, number one. And then there's another app that you can use that you can plop your scenes in. I don't know where they're at with it. I gotta remember what the name of it is. It's a really weird name. Let's see if I can remember. Hold on, let me Google search it. Scene set up on iPad. Hold on. Top 3D. Let's see what it comes up with. Let me see. Give me a second. Let me see if I can remember. It's got a really, really weird name that I always forget. Well, it's not that weird. I can't ever remember it. Hold on. I'm trying to see. Gosh darn it. What is that app called again? I don't think I did have it on my iPad, but I don't think I do anymore. I don't think I have it anymore. I don't have it on my iPad anymore. I don't remember what it's called. There is one that you can drop your USDs in a scene and then render. So let me show you. Render apps on iPad. I think it's Prisma 3D. I think that's what it is. Let me see. I think that's it. Let me see. Might be it. I'm not sure. No. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have to see. I can't remember now. There is one that was being made besides Octane. That's in there. I just can't remember what it is, unfortunately. Sorry. Clio 3D. That's it. There you go, Karsten. Thank you. That's it. That one you can use. You can set up scenes and render in that. Okay. It get messy when you go back and forth in subdivision levels. It gets messy because polypaint's based upon vertex coloring. You're painting on the physical vertex color. So when you walk down in subdivision levels, you don't have the exact same vertex color anymore. So like if I have this dog, right? And let's go smaller. Let's fill it with white. Now let's grab a red, paint, and just make a brush stroke here. And then let's grab a blue. Okay, so right now, this paint quality is dependent upon the actual vertex. Especially if I make my focal shift more harsh a little bit in here. Okay, and we also take off the alpha. Right, so this harshness that's happening right in here, it's the vertex that's hosting it, right? So if you start walking down in subdivision levels, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to have all the vertexes that are there and there to keep that paint. Oh, Clio 3D, they paused their development, really? Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. So this is why your paint is going to, and I think this is, yeah, so this is why if I walk down now, right, in subdivisions, you're going to lose the paint quality because there's not all the same vertex points in this area where the blue was. But then ZBrush still remembers what it looked like and then gives you it all back. But that's why. Cool. Good. All right. So I think we got through our tangents. I'm gonna go back to my arm until you guys come up with something else. Go back into my arm. In here, that is not the one I want. Or is it? Wait, let me see. Did I turn things off? Oh, I have solo on. I was like, where did all my stuff go? All right, so this is definitely not going to work up here in the shoulder. So I would probably definitely want to bring this forward a little bit, and then I can smooth this out a little bit more. And I'm thinking, I kind of like this idea. So I probably want this, I'm going to go try and make this be a little bit more rounded. I'm almost intrigued to see what would this look like. Let's do this. And then let's go big like this. Yeah, don't like it. But maybe, what if I did something like that? No, it's too aggressive. It's too aggressive. Okay, so then let's turn on polyframe. Let's look at just this portion right here. Let's try this. Let's do a little fun experiment here. Let's get a little bit more than that. And spacebar it. Let's get a little bit more of the shoulder. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna say, let's hold the Alt key and tap right there. Then I'm gonna hold the Shift key and I'm gonna tap on the arrow. And now I'm looking straight at that part of the shoulder. Okay, then let's turn this on. And then let's use slice circle, but let's make it also have squared. Okay. So let's sorry. I got him. This is in my way. We're gonna make it squared. Okay, and then I'm gonna do this. Let's do say something like that. Okay, let's bring everything back. And let's see, let's use the gizmo now to have some fun here. Let's look at, say, this part is all I want to look at, right? So, let's turn off gizmo for now. Let's mask this, inverse this now. Now turn on our gizmo. Kind of do an extraction here. And what if I straightened it? Something like this. And then let's get it closer to the arm. I don't want it to be so extreme. Okay, and then let's like blur this a lot. Let's inverse and blur, inverse, blur. Okay, and in fact, let's go in here. Let's go in the masking and let's do a boost. Actually, we'll do a dilute. Yeah, that's good. I want that. That looks good. Dilute a little bit more. And then now we'll blur. And then we'll blur and blur. Okay. Let's see what this is going to look like. Let's turn off polyframe so we can really get a good understanding here. Deformation. Let's polish by groups with the stronger algorithm and then slowly let that blend into the arm. Let's do one other thing here. Let's for now hide the mask so we can take a look at what that's doing. Like, do I really like that? It feels okay-ish, I guess. It's interesting. It's interesting. What is it gonna look like? You know, let's go back to V1. And see, what is that going to start to look like on him? Okay, in V1, let's get rid of this subtool and turn it off. Doesn't look too bad, actually. I don't know, the silhouette, I think, might look a little weird. Let's get in there. What are we thinking, everybody? I feel it might be a little weird that it's sticking out. Like, I think this is too much now. We're getting this line here, silhouette-wise. That's too much for me. I'm not a fan of that now. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like it. Let's go back. Welcome to Creation 101. I don't know what I want to make. I kind of like, okay, I'm kind of digging though a little bit of that roundness. Let's just keep going back. I'm thinking in my head right now. Okay, I'm thinking maybe we keep it like this and let's start building up some other stuff in here. So you know what, let's use the polish brush and just start building up surface and then building back surface. Maybe just a subtle one, right? So maybe I can start sculpting in something that has a little bit of plane change in here. I can't go too low because of that articulation part for his arm to move. But I'm thinking I'm probably just, I think I'm better off keeping this, having something more like this. This is why I love the move infinite depth. I'm changing the silhouette. I know it's going through the whole shoulder piece right now. In there. Just changing the lines really fast. Okay. I think I'm going to stick with... the arm just feels so bulky. To me, that shoulder just seems so huge. That's kind of why I went with that smaller shoulder thought process here. Definitely experimentation. Let's see. Trivia question. I love trivia questions. For you as a 15-year-long ZBrush developer, why is ZBrush called ZBrush? What meaning did development team put into the name? I can tell you the history of the word pixel logic, but ZBrush, I never really asked Ofair, but it was really, I bet, because it started as an illustration program more than anything, and it gave the ability for us as artists to work kind of on a flat plane, but then have the Z depth also at our disposal. So not just only having horizontal and vertical, but we also had the Z depth at our disposal. And then you were using brushes, and then sculpting brushes in particular, to create. So I don't know, I can ask him where he got the name ZBrush and what he did with it, but that would be my guess, is why he called it ZBrush. But I never asked. I never asked that. Never thought about asking. It's a great question. Is there any secret gestures on iPad in ZBrush? Secret gestures. I'm assuming you know you can change your draw size with 3 fingers, going up and down, but you can also change your focal shift, going right and left as well. You can do that. As far as anything else, there's not any other, like obviously your normal navigation, you can rotate and zoom at the same time. There's long presses, so anytime, everywhere you see little triangles, you can long press. So like for draw size, I can long press also and then let go any one of these sliders and then just let go and then it'll disappear. So you have this gesture ability to have that. Sometimes I prefer this. I find myself using this one the most though. And then of course right and left, use your focal shift. Trying to think of any other gestural elements that we have. Obviously, if you have the Pro Pencil, you can use actually the rotation to change these draw sizes as well, if that's something you wanted to do. But that's off the top of my head. That's about it that I can give you right now off the top of my head. The shoulder piece is bothering me. I don't like it. Let's just start making some progress here. Oops, I got an alpha on this. Let's reset all brushes. Oops, not the alpha. I want to be on the brush. Let's reset them all. I've been playing with it too much. Across there. I kind of like that look. But what if I came across instead like this? I'm just trying to think of some different ways to work with this. This is why I'd want the eraser part for sure. And the arm is very organic, but I don't think I can't go back all the way. I lost my previous undo because I saved a tool, I think. So let's kind of start over a little bit. I don't like where this is going. let's throw some, let's throw some Sculptris Pro on this. And that way I can destroy the lines I've made already faster. Bless me. Excuse me. Okay. Now let's store an undo marker, and then that way we can use that history brush again. Okay. Let's see. What if I did come straight across? Let's turn off Sculptris Pro. What would happen? What that would look like? No. What if I did that instead? That's the shoulder piece. No. We could do something like this. Then go here. And go there. No. Ah, the trials and tribulations of design. Again, I'm not worried about being perfect. I'm just trying to come up with, what do I want this to start looking like? Okay, this is making a little bit more sense to me, this, at least design-wise for me, that I like. And then now, what if I come up like this? So then the shoulder, stick kind of more like a rounded feel. Then we'll add some other harsh parts in there. Again, let's turn this off for now, so we can really take a look at what I'm doing here. Okay, so good. This needs to work, right? So this needs to probably stay a little bit more rounded. So we can come across here, and then come across through there. Right, because then I can see this being a panel here for a bicep look. And the panel goes there. And then for tricep, I want to do something. And maybe bring it out, pull it out a little bit. You know what I'm going to do? I think the Dynamesh is actually too high. Okay. I can come through. What if I came this way? Yeah, okay. I do like this. I keep gravitating towards this. All right, yeah. And then that way, this piece connects into this. So we'll make this have a nice gap in there. And then we can make this piece stick out a little bit more. All right, that's better. Okay, and then on the arm joint by the elbow, yeah, let's take a look at this. Let's definitely change this up a little bit. Okay, so do we want the elbow? Do I want it to be, let's take a Ganter here. Do I want to do this where it bleeds in upwards of this way? And then now this one would cut like this instead. And then this would be all part of the lower arm. Do I I want to go this route because we're going to need to make a hinge here. That's interesting. Okay. That's not bad. It's interesting. Okay, let's put a cylindrical piece here. Okay, sorry, I've been missing the questions. Does ZBrush Desktop Navigate work with 10-finger touch on tablets? No. No. It did work with Wacom tablets at one point, but it's broken now. It's not working anymore. We got to revisit it. Okay. So let's have some fun here. Let's cut off the wrist. We definitely going to want to cut off at the wrist. So let's use the knife brush. Let's go ahead into the modifiers. Let's do a clip brush. Let's turn on split the parts. And we'll save. Okay, and then let's just split right across here. All right. Now we have the hand in this, and then let's split again. Let's make a little gap right here. Okay, so we have something like this. Okay, and then let's do this. Let's see, did I put it in here? I think I put it in here. Split. Well, let's do it. Here's another thing I want to add to my little menu here. Okay, we're going to go into visibility, and I definitely want to grow all. And I want to grow and also shrink. And then I'm also going to do outer ring. And then let's take a divider, put it there. So move these around. Let's swap these two. There we go. And then let's put another ring in my split options here. Let's move it there. Okay, so when I'm done, I got this, so I can do a grow all and make a new poly group. Here, I'll turn on the poly frame. So this is all one poly group now. And then we can, okay, this one, at this rate, we could actually just auto group it. Okay, and for the time being, let's get rid of this poly group. So you kind of got a gap in there. I'm going to want the hands to turn. So we will delete that now. I have it in here. Delete hidden. Okay. Now we got a little part in there. Let's append. Let's append a cylinder. We don't want solo on. All right, let's take this cylinder. Let's take dynamic, put that on. Okay, and so that's nice and round. Switch to here. Let's position this now. Let's go 70 degrees. Let's see. All right, and now let's try to fit better with the arm. a little bit more. Let's make it as if it's a pin going through there. Not so big. Let's go a lot smaller. Even a little bit smaller. Wider. Right, and then let's go ahead and turn this into Boolean subtract. Let's rename it. Naming is important, people. Elbow cut pin. Boom. Okay, so now let's take a look at this and see what we got here. Let's start separating the pieces too now. So this is just kind of the process I start to do when I start making the mech, and I'm not worried about it being ridiculously clean. I'm more worried about making the surface look the way I want, and then I'll clean it up, and I'll do different things to clean it up for us, and go about that. Okay, so the arm is getting better. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the arm might be becoming too organic. I feel like I want to go, like, it's too human for me right now. It's too human. Too human. So I think I need to play with this now a little bit and see if we can get rid of some of this human feel, actually. Do we want to just now, in essence, just start letting the brushes do some work for me? I like this with the, what's happening in the tricep area. I'm starting to like that. I don't like what I did in the front though. The back is making sense. That transitionally smooth in a little bit more. And that way this piece of it can actually come out as well. And then back to Demon Standard, really make sure this is understood that those are going to be separate pieces, which I will separate in a little bit, but right now I just want to start going around the model and start figuring some stuff out for him. Clear. Okay, wish I could duplicate that. I think it's the shoulder that's really bothering me too. The shoulder's just bothering me. Let's do a little pinch. Let's do a line. Definitely there. Okay, and let's move infinite depth. Let's make this be less human. Let's change that silhouette a little bit more. So what I'm thinking here is, and then now this line can live there, and that's kind of gonna break up his arm. Do we want to continue this idea like it comes up in here, starts creating? Okay. Maybe. Oops. Maybe. Just maybe onto something here. Comes up. Comes around. Comes this way. Comes across. So in essence, follow the shape that I'm actually creating right now, and and see what does that start to look like. Okay, let's go to history. Let's erase. Back to Damien standard. Through. Comes like this. And let's have it, so let's have it come straight across to meet that area. I don't like that this comes all the way up to here. What if we, again, did this and then it also comes up? It's more like this. How do we feel about that? I like what's happening here in the back of the arm. I like this and coming into here. Definitely this. I can see a beveling here happening. So the surface kind of stands out a little bit more. Really make that stand out. Okay, let's turn on everything so we can see with the pin that I want to put in. Do we want to go smaller with the pin? Maybe. What if we go smaller with the pin? So that'll give us this, but I need to figure out more movement than that for sure. I want to turn off, for my iPad, I am going to turn off, trim's good. Where did we put that again? I gotta remember where we put this. I want to turn something off. It's in here. Maybe. I could have swore we put it in here. Sorry, try to just remember if we put this in here or not on the iPad. No. Line action line, line masking line, enable transpose inflate, trim, those are all fine, unit scale. Looks like we might need to add this. Ah, here we go. That might help if I was actually in the Gizmo 3D. Okay, so that way when I tap, it doesn't turn off the Gizmo. Because I constantly do that, it seems like, on the iPad, so. I think we gotta stay big. I'll go bigger draw size. We might have to change that inner sphere. It's making the shoulder have to get really big is the problem. And then I don't like that it's getting too big, so we might need to play with that inner portion a little bit more. All right, good day all. Okay, I've only got a little bit more time. So are there any last minute questions that anybody has as I'm just sitting here fiddling, trying to figure out what I want to do with this arm? Does anybody have anything else that came up for them? Let's see, do I have... Okay, nope. Starting to see something happening here. Way too big a brush size. I don't know if I like this. Let's erase that for now. Whoa. Decisions. Decisions. All right. I think I'm having a little bit of a roadblock in my head right now. Not happy with where I'm going with all of this yet. Gotta do some. I think it's time to do some real big time experimenting here. Oops. Go in there a little bit. Easier said than done for us, huh? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I get quiet when my mind is thinking. I'm just trying to think of what I could possibly do with this. Because right now I'm struggling a little bit to come up with something that I actually am digging. That I actually like. Okay, I like that. That made the shoulder less bulky. But maybe a little too much. Maybe that's all it needs, a little bit more of that. Cut down on that. Yes, maybe, yep. I think I'm gonna have to do a bunch of arm experiments, I think, to see where I want to go with this. I don't know about being ridiculously flat. I like a little bit of flatness in there. Yeah, something more along that line. That's better. I think. Let's see. Okay, I like that better. I like that better. Making the arm a little more sleek too, which I think is what I need. Oops, in general. The arm was getting too big for what I want this. This guy's supposed to be fast moving, sleek. I think that's part of my problem is he's too humanoid in the arms right now. I need to make it more droid-like. Just smooth it up a little bit. Getting better. It's getting better. This is where I like to use that pinch as well. Yep, I think every artist has this problem. Throwaways, yeah, pretty much. This is why I like the pinch brush. Kind of I can straighten up some lines and have that follow down the arm. And like I can make this part become very straight now. And maybe that line continues up the arm. What if it continued up this way? What if we use that whole line as a way to build upon? Now we're getting somewhere. Sometimes it's having mistakes get you where you need to go sometimes. So make it feel more mech as well. We're going to definitely change that sphere in the middle. It's not working for me anymore. Oops. Let's go a little bigger. Let's go with stronger. Okay. It's something. Getting somewhere with some kind of design. That's for sure. Something's happening. Something is happening. I don't know what, but something is happening. I'm going to need to cut this here eventually too. I'm thinking maybe some kind of thing in there. Exposing the hinge ability in there. It's got some nice little, we're going to hinge in there. Mm-hmm. And then maybe we can do the opposite here, build this surface up here. Let's go a little bit bigger. Oops, stronger's on. I don't want stronger on anymore. I need music. I tend to work with music on, but that is music. Oh, Dynamesh is off. The music that I tend to listen to is soundtracks, which I can't listen to while I'm streaming. Dynamesh keep turning off on me. Alright. Kind of just a little nudge thing in there. It goes into there. Alright, what are we thinking right now, people? What are we thinking? Am I getting somewhere that at least it looks cool? Talk amongst yourself. Coffee talk. Coffee talk. Neither here nor there. Doesn't look good. Looks good. Come across. Sometimes you just gotta like commit, right? You just gotta say, oh, that's what it's gonna look like. And then things will come alive. Right? That's what I have found sometimes when I'm like, especially when I'm in this rut where I'm just having a hard time seeing kind of where I want to go with this. Sometimes it's good just to put it in a rut. Okay, I kind of like, for example, really like that line. And now, do I want to continue that down the arm here? Yeah, because I can see blades coming out of that, actually. That'd be cool. That'd be a cool option to him. There's like some blade that pops out of this area. Let's make this so it rounds better. Let's use trim dynamic. I like to use trim dynamic to kind of chisel away at the surface. And then throw some smooth in there. Okay, and I can see a line there. Maybe a cut line in there. Like a subtle one. Getting somewhere, I think, now. I think the shoulder just really bothers me still for some reason. I don't know why. The shoulder's just bothering me. Okay, saved. Hey Paul, do you ever use your iPad as a tablet for the full ZBrush version running on a Mac? Sidecar? No. No, I never use it for that because this is the full ZBrush pretty much for the most part. So for me, this has been good enough, right? I'm not finding a ton of barriers working on the iPad ZBrush version. It really, I've got most of the stuff that I like and that I need. So I don't have a need to put the desktop version on the iPad anymore. And then there's just certain things I really like about what we've done with the touch, right? So it's just, you're not going to get that in the desktop version. So I prefer using this. It's almost like I'm gonna do something pretty crazy here. Let me see. If I did, I think this will be too extreme. Yep, too extreme. That's interesting, though. But then I think the shoulder's getting too tiny. I like what's happening in there, though. But I think it's making the shoulder not bulky enough. Man, that shoulder's just become my dreaded enemy. That shoulder is really, really becoming my enemy. I think that's where my problem is. The shoulders just bother me. I don't know if what one I prefer over the other. I will say that, yeah, there's some things I really like that what we've done on the iPad version, that it is becoming one of my favorite ways of working, is in the ZBrush with the iPad. I've really enjoyed the process and what we're doing with it. So I really love that. Hey, I got an idea, and then I can just sit on my couch and work. I'm trying to do like 30 minutes of creativity is every day, where I at least do something artistically every day for 30 minutes. Just like anything. So I don't know, I've been using the desktop for so long, and there's still some features in the keyboard and shortcuts, but because I've been in the iPad now for so long, I do like the iPad version a lot. I am pushing more towards the iPad version these days. So, okay, I can say, you know what I need? I need to walk away from this, because actually now that I look at this again with fresh eyes, I'm starting to like the arm. I'm starting to see a flow here. I'm starting to see it's also probably the shoulder part I need to play with, that it's connecting into. I don't know if that's working for me as well. And in fact, I did this on the top. So if I match that, that is interesting actually. Let's see. It's not 100% rounded, but what if we went a little more extreme for now with the shoulder? More like this. And then now, cut the top. Too much. Too extreme. I'll get it, because this I can kind of see the way the arm's going to flow, and I think that's it. I need to also go figure out that shoulder joint a little bit better. It's not right now. It's not feeling good. I don't fully use the iPad version. No, it's not just the iPad version that I'm fully using. I've really enjoyed. I haven't missed the keyboard actually very much at all. I have enjoyed having the ability to just use touch to do things, use navigation, and do other elements. For me, so I would say, yeah, I've really enjoyed that. Yeah, I think it's lowered the barrier of entry for sure. If you do a half an hour a day, you'd be surprised. It's just like anything. Like when you're learning a music instrument, they say that just do at least 30 minutes a day, and then you'll learn the instrument within like start learning the basics in like a couple months, and then another couple months later you'll start playing songs. Yeah, I'm seeing a ball and socket joint too. I think I need to go do some more soul searching of the shoulder. It's the only thing that's just bothering me. I don't know why. The shoulder part. I think maybe I need to cut up. I'm liking what I'm doing with the lower part of the arm now. Oh, not that. I'm liking what's happening here, starting to flow through there. You got, as you rotate, there's a line there. The back is looking interesting. I might go revisit that. I think maybe what I need to do is like literally cut the shoulder off. I don't know if I'm at that point yet. I know doing this line right here has helped my eye a lot. Like this line right here has helped a lot. So let's go like this right here. And then you can see a flow flowing through the arm like this. Because he's going to have swords and everything. He's going to have katanas. Okay. You know what? Let's do, for giggles too, let's try this. One last thing. Just for giggles. You know, and then obviously I gotta start putting legs on it because that's also part of my problem. This is why I'm saying we should. I think I'm gonna put the legs on him now, and start looking at that, look at the legs, and then maybe I will see the whole character more together. And I think this is the mistake that a lot of us make, especially in hard surface. We start doing this, we're getting focused on this, but then we don't have the whole character figured out, right? Like I can see the chest now changing a little bit more for me now. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start doing that. And I think I'm going to revamp this piece in here. Kind of come up with something different in there, I think, too. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. All right. Well, I did a lot of rambling today for what I was working on. So thank you for joining. We'll see how much further I can keep going on this. 30 minutes a day, hopefully. I unfortunately got to get going, but I appreciate you guys all stopping by. I will see you in other streams. This has been Paul Gaboury with the ZBrush team, and